we go. Hello! Hello, 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 hello. The audio coming through. I can tell, I can tell. Let me just fix it real quick. Sure. There we go. There's the stop. Welcome on my lovely goblins and ghouls of the internet. I'm Manyo, your demon signifier. And tonight, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing tonight? I say it like I don't know. I say it like I don't know. Tonight we're be reading a little bit more Higurashi. See how far we can get into it. I'm not sure how long I should stay live because I've had to finish the video. Then I didn't get to do today because of reasons. Annoying reason. It's fine. But yeah, I'm so happy. Happy's not the right word. Ecstatic. Nervous. I made this pack week of streaming, which I normally kind of always like, but I have so many things I planned for next month. So many things I want to do for us, not just this channel, but also on YouTube. And I hope I can get it all done. I hope I can get it all done. There's gonna be so many nights of no sleep, just no sleep whatsoever, just to get everything recorded and edited. Hello, Cause. How are you doing tonight or evening? Yeah, just saying. I have so many things planned. They're gonna catch up, so I need to do a lot of recording. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Halloween, October's not gonna be fully packed like I want it to be, but it's gonna be. I'm gonna try to make it special. Especially, it'll be my second year, my anniversary of being a VTuber, but my second year, I think, of streaming altogether. So hopefully we can make it fun and exciting. Hopefully. Knowing me, I'll probably screw up. But also, it probably won't affect today's stream, but tomorrow when we play Hades, it's not Hades. When are we playing Miles Morales? On Wednesday. Okay. I thought I did that for two times this week. I guess I didn't. Oh well, I'll figure it out later. So I finally. Well, I'm not gonna say what I got, but let's say I got something amazing. Console-wise, not gonna say what it is, not gonna say who it is. But when I plugged it all in to the computer, to the capture card to see how everything works up well, I don't know what happened. To my capture card, I don't know. I didn't drop the damn thing. I'm not sure why it's happening this way, but when I plug it into the computer and into the PlayStations and run it all through, the audio box for the system, it wasn't coming through. Like really, like I got visuals but no audio. I tinker with it. Eventually, I got audio, but the audio file for the media box from the capture card wouldn't turn down, wouldn't turn up. I couldn't mute it. I couldn't do nothing. I don't understand what's wrong. But the audio was there. I just couldn't tweak with it. So I figured I was gonna try to do a stream, just like really quick on. Was it on Saturday? It was on Friday when I was feeling super sick. So I was going to try to do a quick little stream to see what was wrong with it. To see if I can just get all the volume, see when it came in, so we can try to fix it all together. But I figured out I could just record it and see how the issue was there. So when I hit record, the audio was not coming to the recording. Until I started scrolling down the audio mixer wheel and I saw the audio for desktop. And I have no idea how, why, or how, when, what, how, where, you know what I'm trying to say. but the audio somehow got the audio for the capture card somehow got linked and connected to desktop audio. It was just coming through the desktop all together, and I can play with audio that way. Not sure what happened. I don't know how, where do I don't remember dropping this stupid thing, but it works to an extent. That's good. I don't have to buy another one, and I don't really want to buy an Elgato because I hear they had just as many problems. But they're more mainstream, so if I get an issue with Elgato, it would probably be easier to fix. But it worked for now. I just wanted to get a little update because that was pissing me off so much. I think my mic is even worse than it was. But yeah, let's just jump into the VN and let's see what happened with us. How far we can progress in the story. There's mentioned audio on. Should be working. Why don't we hear the cicadas? Okay, it's going through. Okay, so last time we played, we got that lovely. I say lovely because I'm trying to cope. We got the lovely little mention of Japanese laws against child abuse, and it ended up with talking about potential SA in showing Satoko, implying that SA is happening to her, and me losing my little mind because hurting our precious Satoko. Yeah, allowed to hurt Satoko. Yeah, this is one reason why I hate this chapter. I don't hate this chapter. I really do love this. But I don't think any of the arcs in Higurashi are bad. Well, there's that one arc that I don't particularly care for. Not because I think it's bad, just I don't think anything that special happens in it. But this one just really just hurts me. It's just so nasty. But it's not like nasty for like no reason. Like it works. It works well. It works a little too well because it got me to react that way. Okay, let me do this one quick little thing real quick. Let me check this. Alright. Alright, let's start. Load. Load. Ooh, this is nice. The little piano score. Dark, foreboding, but also calm and tranquil. I love melancholic. The die of fate has been cast. Oh, that's right, because Keiji was I don't want to say overreacting. He was reacting probably what most people react to about Satoko's abuse, and just demanding the teacher do something about it. But understand them, but probably not the best way to conduct himself. Alright. The die of fate has been cast. Reporting to a public agency, which we kept being warned could instead result in something far worse for Satoko if we didn't have evidence first. And just like that, had I failed, had I let my emotions get the better of me in that moment, maybe I should have stayed silent and left everything to Mion, since she had been relatively calm. I remember the punishment game where we had to badmouth Curry, and how me saying anything would have made it worse. And Satoko told us to leave the talking to her. Maybe it was the same thing here. Was I impulsive? So maybe I should have just shut up and looked at the floor. but it was too late to limit it. The die I had thrown would be coming back into my hands. All we could do was pray for something good to happen.
圭一君は圭一君にできる精一杯をしたよ。
Did we though?
だからあとは先生たちに任せよね。
俺にできる精一杯？本当に俺が死に物狂いに精一杯だったら、里子を夕べのうちに連れ出してどこかの廃屋にでも隠れてる。
That was not going to be a long-term solution. It could easily backfire in so many ways.
そうならなかったってことは、俺は精一杯じゃなかったってことだろ。
もう考えるのはよそ。圭一君、少し根を詰めすぎだよ。そんな調子じゃ圭一君まで倒れちゃう。
You will collapse. Just leave me alone. I left her with those words and stared lazily up at the ceiling. I wonder if I really got Chi-sensei to understand. Would the public agency intervene and solve everything within the day? Would they acknowledge the abuse and guarantee her safety? After lunch break, our afternoon classes were mostly self-study. The teacher came back to the classroom occasionally, but then the phone in the lounge would ring and she'd have a long conversation with the caller. Everyone in class got the feeling they knew what those phone calls were about. Since they came trotting back into the back from the classroom.
今日は何度も電話で本当にすみませんでしたね。では今日はこれでおしまいにします。院長、号令。起立。
It looked to me like Sensei had been wearing a dark expression ever since after lunch break. It wasn't a very revealing expression. It wouldn't. Even if Sensei 100% understood the situation and passionately explained it to the other person. At the end, the Child Consultation Center, as a public agency, would be the ones to decide whether to get her to safety. Sensei understood that as well as us. And that's why she looked so unreliable right now. Oh,
ケイちゃん、帰ろうよ。部活する気も起きないでしょ。
みーちゃん、部活は誰がかけても面白くないよ。
Let's go visit Satoko. At least try to cheer her up somewhat. Reno was right. It was no fun for us if someone was missing. If the teacher's expression had shown more promise, then maybe we could have gone home more comfortably. But I couldn't let myself feel relieved. I couldn't be naive and tell myself all I can do is pray, now that the dice has been cast. Just in case they didn't get her to safety and decided to wait and see again. I need to take further measures. We've asked the people who could do something official already. But then there was one more place that was worth asking for help. She might laugh it off. Or I might be right, and I could be endangering my own life. But I try.
ミオ。
Oh, that's right. Just scene. Because remember, he kind of thinks that maybe the Sanosakis are responsible for the murders and disappearances.
今日さ、お前の家に寄ってもいいか？お前、漫画かなり持ってるんだろ？少しまとめ狩りしたいんだけどな。
え？いいけど。
Oh, she got it right away. There was an ominous meaning behind my words, so Mion realized that I really meant right away. I wanted to talk about something alone. That's what I meant.
みーちゃん、ケイチくん、早く帰ろう。
Rena already had her shoes on and was waving to us from the schoolyard. Hey, we didn't get to see what Rika? You can't walk Rika home? Mion's house was gigantic in every way imaginable. The house itself was a vaguely old-fashioned, traditional Japanese house, but the yard, I guess, or the plot of land, was enormous. It easily convinced me that they really were major landowners, with Hinamizawa under their thumb. Mion brought me through the guest room, and a servant brought us some tea.
へえ、さすが金持ちだな。お手伝いさんなんか雇ってるのかよ。
私とバッチャしか住んでないもの。私だけじゃやってけないよ。
The servant left, telling us it was 5 o'clock, then withdrew with soft footsteps.
週に2、3回ね。バッチャの世話とか掃除の手伝いで来てくれてる。
That's nice.
3、4人がローテーションで入ってくれてるんで、大抵毎日誰かがいてくれるよ。夕方までだけどね。あ、宴会とかがあって人手が欲しい時には別途に呼んでるんだけどさ。
If you have the money to hire all these people, then just take in Sadako. She can't. It's her family. I glared at her as I thought that, and Mion seemed to catch on immediately.
ごめん。
いいよ。金の問題じゃないことは分かってるからな。
先に言っとくけど、私に自由にできるお金は全くないんだからね。そこだけは誤解しないでほしい。
It kind of looked like I was bullying her. Not intentionally, but kind of are. Mion had been apologizing to me a lot lately. Was Mion the sort of a person who would do that this much? Maybe it's just that I've been looking so grim lately.
でさ、何？ケイちゃん、なんか話があったんじゃないの？
ミオンにかなり本気な話がある。
Oh no.
突然な話でミオンは面食らうかもしれないが聞いてほしい。
何？
あ、先に逃げ道を渡しておくな。仮に本当だったとしてミオンはそれを認めてくれなくてもいい。しらばっくれててもいい。だけれど最後まで俺の話は聞いてほしい。鬼ヶ淵村御三家の今や筆頭家、その次期当主の園崎美音に話がある。
Mion Sonozaki. Fucking gangsta. At first, Mion looked like she had no idea what I was saying. But hearing the whole sentence and putting it together, she reacted.
どこで聞いたの？
It goes around, it goes around.
それは関係ないことだ。
I definitely couldn't tell her who told me. Tanaka-san, you told me not to, but please forgive me. This is why I asked you about it, after all.
ケイちゃんが鬼ヶ淵村の名を知ってることだけでも驚きだけど、私についていろいろとあることないことを知ってそうだね。
ああ、
いや、
あることないことだ。俺が勘違いしてるだけなのかもしれない。でもそれでもいいから聞いてくれ。そしてもしも本当なんだったら。
ケイちゃんが何の話をしようとしてるかわからないけど、
okay?
とにかくケイちゃんは大きな勘違いをしてる。だからできるなら私はケイちゃんの話も聞きたくない。
Alright, don't say more words, boy.
聞いても何も叶えてあげられないからね。
Don't say anything else?
でも話すことでケイちゃんの肩が少しでも軽くなるなら聞くよ。
Mion, you're too kind.
本当に聞くだけ。何も起こらないよ。それでもいいね。
あ、
Mion seemed to know what kind of thing I'd be talking about. She warned me that doing so would be fruitless. That much was obvious. If what I was going to say was true, then the Sansaki family would be the masterminds behind the string of freak deaths that have been occurring every year in Hinamizawa.
お社様のたたりってあるよな。
Mion nodded a little.
正体不明。なぜ起こるのかも不明。個々には解決しながらも、全体で見れば不可解な連続開始、連続失踪事件。でも、一つだけ共通することがある。
The Hojos.
それは、必ず村の旧敵が標的に選ばれること。
The dirty, dirty Hojos.
みたいだね。
Mion spoke as if it didn't relate to her. That was fine. She didn't have to admit it. For now, I just wanted her to stay quiet and listen to me.
あさってだろ、綿流し。今年のたたりの犠牲者ってさ、もう決まってるのか？
Oh god. Her reaction, what's it gonna be? Mion didn't answer. Her expression remained the same too. Like she said, she was just quietly listening.
あ、ごめんな。聞いてるだけって約束なのに、質問しちゃ変だよな。
Mion gave me a look she never given me before. A faraway look. A faraway look. A sympathetic one. She didn't nod. She just smiled and faintly and listened to me.
もしも、今年のたたりが、里子のおじじゃなかったなら、だって、去年は里子のおばだろ。順番から言えば、決しておかしくはないだろ。
そうだね。そういう順序もあるね。
第一あいつ、去年のたたりでおばが死んだ後、里子を放り出して丸一年、町に逃げ出してたじゃないか。そんなやつ、もろにお社様のたたり確定じゃないかよ。今年のたたりに選んでも不足はないはずだぜ。
そうだね。今年のたたりであいつが死んでも多分みんな納得するね。
俺聞いたんだ。お社様のたたりってのは、その
What were you gonna say? No matter how I looked at it, I wasn't sure whether I should continue. No matter how tired, the words wouldn't come out.
ひなみ沢連続開始事件、通称お社様のたたりは、園崎家が主導で御三家が起こしている村ぐるみの事件だでしょ。
Maybe.
別に俺はそれにミオンが関わってるとかそんなのには興味がないんだ。ただもしもそういうたたりを決めている連中に渡りがつくなら、里子のおじをたたりに選ぶように言ってほしいだけなんだ。
Yeah.
頼む。
ケイちゃんの言ってる内容はさっきから本当にひどいこと。ひなみ沢連続開始事件が園崎家主導の事件なんだとしたら、それじゃあ主犯格は私ってことだよね。
You'd be one of the culprit. There'd probably be someone else too as well.
私がたたりを決め指示をし、何人も殺めて消したことになる。ケイちゃんは私を人殺し呼ばわりするんだ。
It really is. And he kind of knows the hypocrisy on it too. You remember the first chapters where Kei-chan was very against murder, acting like, oh my, there are murderers, how evil, there must be monsters, and blah 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 blah. Well, as soon as someone he loves getting hurt, he's almost willing to go go along with murder almost right away. Not saying that makes him a bad character, but it's kind of you can see how he flip flops.
だから言ってるじゃないか。ミオンが連続殺人の主犯だろうと無関係だろうと俺はどうでもいいんだ。たとえミオンが殺人犯だって俺の親友であることには何も関係ないじゃないか。それで警察に追われたら助けてやる。お前のアリバイを作ってやるし逃走だって助けてやる。
Yeah, he really does care. Yeah, like I said, he was like all the murderers and everything, but he was also thought they were coming after him. That's also kind of why he thought that. But like in episode 2, where the demon was possessing Neon, he was like, "Hey, you're my best friend. I'm ride and die. I'll do whatever you need to do for you." He's such a sweet boy. Simple, stupid, a little bit too perverted, but at the end of the day, he's a good kid.
仲間で親友だからだ。そうだろ。
Oh. Mion looked surprised for a while. She was dumbfounded.
いきなり共犯宣言？ケイちゃん、かなり大胆だよそれ。
No. Why'd that pop up? I was trying to just check my little thing. Okay, well, honestly, now I'm pausing. I just need to check. Alright, that's good. And You're pretty bold of you.
いいから話の腰を折るな。佐藤のおじを今年のたたりに。
ケイちゃんストップ。そろそろご飯の準備をしたいから今日はこれくらいにしたいんだけど。
いや
No, she's giving you an out. Stop talking before you say something you can't take back. Then I realized that my cheeks were wet with tears. They slid down my chin and fell, drip, drop to the tatami mat.
最初から言ってる通り、ケイちゃんは大きな勘違いをしてる。お社様のたたりはお社様のたたり。たとえ人間の起こした事件であったにせよ、それは園崎家とは、ましてや私とは何の関係もないよ。
あ、それは分かっているさ。
It just...
だからケイちゃんの必死の訴えには胸を打たれるけど、それだけ。私が叶えてあげたくても叶えてあげられない。それもわかるね。
ああ。
でもケイちゃんの気持ちは痛いくらいに分かったよ。もしも本当に私がケイちゃんの言うように御三家を操って毎年の犠牲者を選べる立場にあったなら、きっと私はケイちゃんの願いを叶えているよ。
You're still Yakuza. You can do something. What the hell? I clicked that off. Sorry.
ミオン。
でも現実は違う。私はただの園崎ミオン。確かに園崎家はいろいろな意味で悪い噂を持ってひなみ沢を影から支配している一族だけれども、連続開始事件とは何の関係もない。ダム闘争では確かに少々過激な抵抗もしたけれど、人殺しなんて大それたこと。
そんな悲しいこと言うなよ。せめて今だけでも嘘でもいいからうなずいてくれればいいじゃないか。
ケイちゃん、夢を見るのは勝手。私がここでうなずいてみせれば、ケイちゃんはサトコがあさっての夜に解放されると信じて 肩の荷を下ろすことができるんだろうけどね。
Yeah, he would.
でも無情にも聡子の叔父はあさっての夜も超える。来週になっても再来週になっても居続ける。
Not talking about it.
それを覚悟してね。私は綿流しの次の日になぜ殺さなかったなんてケイちゃんに詰め寄られたくない。
But we all jump in at once.
ミオ。
Neon stood up slowly and closed the sliding door to keep out the wind that had grown chilly.
ミオさんかな。ケイちゃんにそんな話を吹き込んだのは。
No, never.
あの人ひなみ沢をいい感じに誤解してるからな。まあ本人が一人で楽しんでる分にはいいんだけど、ケイちゃんを感化するのはいただけないな。やれやれ、これだからよそ者は。
高野さんは関係ないからな。
はいはいでも安心して。仮にミオさんがケイちゃんに喋ったと分かったって別にどうにもならないんだから。
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
別にミオさんが今年のタタリに選ばれるわけじゃない。
Oh, that's pretty poor choice of words.
そもそも今年もタタリがあるかどうかなんてわからないよ。
Another bad choice of words.
あんなの不幸な偶然がただ積み重なっただけなんだからさ。
聞いてくれてありがとな。もしもミオンが連続事件と何の関係もなかったなら本当に謝っておくな。
そうだね。謝っておいてくれるかな。
Yeah, it was a weird, awkward conversation. Afterwards, I remember being a little bit more harsher in the manga. I think then, in the anime, it was just like a quick, brief scene, like, oh, here it is, and oh, it's gone. But, the manga, I remember being a little more harsher, but here, this is really sad and sweet at the same time. Mion said she didn't have much time, but she still brought me to the gate. She said she had a meeting or something today about Sunday's Wachanagashi festival. So there would be a lot of people from the town council and the festival committee coming. Hey, today's Sunday. Despite her day being so busy, she still listened to what I had to say.
天に神様がいるならさ、きっとケイちゃんの強い思いは伝わるから。
ああ、今日は変な話をして本当にごめんな。
You're weird every day, Kei-san.
今日の話はなかったことにしてくれていい。
忘れておくよ。
じゃあ明日な。
バイバイ。
I had really only spent a short time with Mion. Talking to her made me think. It was clear that what Kaneko-san had told me, at least what wasn't a complete fabrication. If Mion was really unconnected to the incidents, then she probably wouldn't have listened to me so quietly. She heard me out until I was done without making any quips, and I wanted to think about that was proof. I did kind of feel like I was grasping at straws. Of course, thinking back on it, it was a terrible thing to discuss. I mean, I went to my friend's house, called her a serial murderer, and then told her to kill Satoko's uncle. I was the only one talking that whole time. Neon quietly listened to everything I had to say, like a passenger listening to a confession. She could have gotten angry part way through, told me off, and go wash my face with miso soup and come back later. But she didn't. That was proof that Mion's family, the Sanzakis, were the masterminds. Or was she just listening to me because she felt sorry for me, going kind of crazy? I didn't know which it was, but it was the one effort couldn't I couldn't make at the moment. It was another form of insurance. Should worst come to worst, and the public agency decided to wait and see. It was a completely useless resistance, literally grasping at straws. Since they said if she reported to the Child Consultation Center, they have to respond on the same day. Could they have already be in the middle of responding to it now? If Sadako came to school tomorrow morning all energetic, then everything would be just as needless fear? Why couldn't tomorrow come faster? Is it end? Is it the end? The scene break? No. That night was unusually hot and humid, and I couldn't get to sleep. I said all that to Sensei. They couldn't possibly deny to wait and see again this year. Sadako, what was it like for her tonight? Has she tasted the end of her nightmare, enjoying a night of liberation? I actually put my hands together and prayed into my futon. What happened? What's going on? Okay. Jump coming to school?
おはよう、ケイチくん。
おはよう、レナ。
おはよ
よかった。今日もお寝坊かと思ったよ。昨日はおばさまには先に行ったって言われるし、学校には来ていないし、途中で日射病で倒れちゃったのかなって心配してたんだから。
う。へいへい。昨日は心配かけて申し訳ございませんでした。
Hey, good morning.
What was that? Good morning, Mion.
みーちゃん、おはよう。大丈夫？なんかすっごく眠そうだよ。
そういえば昨日は遅くまで町会の人が集まっての打ち合わせ会だったんだろ？
打ち合わせ会なんて名ばかりの宴会だよ。
Another party.
毎年やってるお祭りだもん。今さら小難しい打ち合わせなんかないし。
今日の午後はやっぱりお祭りのお手伝いに行くのかな？
うん。バッチャの代わりにいろいろ挨拶しなきゃなんないし。それにね、祭りってのは準備からもう始まってるからね。
Our morning conversation was lighthearted as usual. It looked like Mion had thankfully forgotten about how I barged into her house yesterday with that crazy talk. The more I think back on it, I felt like I really said something terrible to her. I was really thoughtless, and it wouldn't have been weird if she yelled at me. It was highly possible Tanako-san had exaggerated her story. To think that our comrade and friend Neon, the young leader of the Sansakis, one of the three families effectively controlling Hinamizawa, was pulling the strings behind the serial deaths incidents was a little unbelievable. But if there was even a 1% chance that it was true, then what I said yesterday to Neon might have been a success. Yes, it was no more than yes, it was no more than 1 in 100. But that little bit of effort might have brought the chances of saving Satoko up, but even just a tiny bit. At least I made that effort. After yesterday ended, I was sure I'd done everything I possibly could. If there was something else I could do, it was probably just to clasp my hands and pray that Satoko's uncle would be killed by the curse.
さとこ、今日は来ているといいな。
そうだね。先生がいろいろと手配してくれたんでしょ。
Hopefully, hopefully.
きっと大丈夫だよ。
ひなみ沢地区の民生委員が私のおばさんなんだけどさ、
Oh, she is? I never heard this information before.
ゆうべ電話して聞いてみたよ。
へえ、みーちゃんのおばさんって民生委員さんなんだね。それでさとこちゃんのことなんて言ってたの？
うん。先生があの後直接沖宮の生活相談所に電話してね、担当の職員さんが夕べのうちに訪問したらしいよ。私のおばさんにも今後定期的にアプローチするようにと連絡があったって。
小難しい話はいいよ。
Uh-oh. What?
それより聡子はどうなったんだよ。保護されたのか？
おばさんはそこまでは知らされてなかったみたい。本来はこういうのって秘密だからね。
I love Neon's annoyed expression.
おばさんが私に話してくれたのも十分に倫理違反なんだしさ。
Since when does Mion Sanazaki care about ethics?
くそ、かえって不安になったぞ。
行こう、学校に。
Right. Discussing this more would just make us feel worse. It was far quicker to go to school and see if Satoko was safe or not. The three of us nodded and ran off. Was Satoko safe? What measure had the child consultation center taken? I didn't care what, as long as we could go back to our peaceful life with Satoko today. It didn't matter to me. At the shoe rack at the entrance, Runa took her peek in Satoko's shoe cubby.
あ、さとこちゃんの靴あるよ、あるよ。ケイチくん、さとこちゃんは来てるよ。
Fuck this. I know what's happening.
よかった。
I was gonna run. Ow, ow, ow.
来てるだけじゃわからないだろう。聡子の顔を見るまで何もわかるものか。
You gotta see her smiling face. We trotted towards the classroom. The classroom was lively, as it usually was in the morning.
聡子、どこだ？
みー、ここにちゃんといますですよ。
Oh.
朝っぱらから騒々しいですわね。
I really want to go back to my other playthroughs, or just load up the other games. Like that little mark on her, is that just the crease like of her elbow, or is that supposed to be like a bruise? I don't know. It's freaking me out. It's too early in the morning to be loud.
少しはお静かになさいませ。さとこちゃん、大丈夫だった？
Of all our friends crowd around Satoko excitedly.
あのさ、さとこ、家でどういう話になったわけ？
呼んだのはどなたですの？ まったくどんな騒ぎでしたのよ。
先生だよ。あれだけ欠席すりゃ心配もする。
Satoko said, "I told you I'm fine," under her breath. She was still trying to overcome all the suffering on her own.
私もおじさまもとんだ迷惑でしたのよ。急にあんなに人に押しかけられて、もう。みんなさとこちゃんのこと心配してたんだよ。迷惑だなんて言わないで。
ああ、もうとにかくそれでどうなったんだよ。
どうもこうもしませんわ。
I know it, it's so hurt.
風邪が治ったから学校に来ただけのことですのよ。これからはあんまりお休みして心配をかけないようにしないといけませんわね。
Yes, we all worry about you, Sadako. Stay here. I can't believe I'm saying this, but come to school. What? was Satoko saying?
おじさんはどうなったの？ええ、多少誤解があったことを認めて、二人でごめんなさいをしまして。
Rika-chan grabbed the back of my collar and pulled me away.
なんだよリカちゃん。
Rika-chan silently dragged me all the way into the hallway.
リカちゃん、あれはどういうことだよ。
サトコは何でもないと言って追い返してしまいました。
バカ野郎！なんで？
No. Somewhere in my mind, I thought it would turn out like this. Sako didn't ask for anyone's help. She didn't hide behind anyone. She was trying to ride out this pain. She wanted to show Satoshi proof that if he came back to them, she wouldn't need to hide behind him anymore.
だけど監督に聞いた話じゃ、保護士ってのは本人の意思に関係なく緊急保護をすることができるんだろう。
Oh, and there's proof of abuse.
いくら聡子が虐待を否定したって虐待は事実。
G-Sensei finally came. Her expression was far from cheerful.
ええ、前原くんの言う通り、児童福祉士は緊急性があると判断すれば職権で緊急保護をすることができます。当事者の意思に関係なく。
じゃあどうして聡子の意思が変に尊重されて保護されないことに。
それに沖宮の相談所もいろいろ検討した末にそういう判断を。
Of course, the government. They don't know how to do their jobs right.
なんだよそりゃ！先生、昨日あんた絶対に助けるから大丈夫って言わなかったか？これはどういうことだよ！おかしいじゃねえかよ！おい！
ケイチ、実はこれが3回目なのです。
Yeah, here we go. This little bombshell.
過去にも2回あったのです。
古出さん、
Sensei tried to stop her, but Rika-chan went on speaking anyway.
過去に2度？一昨年の冬に通報して様子見になったって話は聞いてるが、その前にもあったのか？
サトコの死んでしまったお父さんはサトコの本当のお父さんではないのです。
え？リカちゃん、それが。
Stepfather.
え？
I'm starting the sudden revelation. I had no idea what Rika-chan wanted to tell me, but it seemed really important, so I couldn't get a word in either.
サトコのお母さんは再婚なのです。サトコとサトシはお母さんの連れ子で、お父さんとは血はつながっていなかったのです。
Satoshi was a good kid, one who listened politely to what adults told him. He was immediately welcomed by their new father, and was loved. But Satoko was different. She was rebellious, she told lies, she played pranks. Her stepfather didn't like her at all.
つまりどういうことだよ？
サトコはおじ夫婦に預けられる以前の家族の時もあまり良好な家族関係ではなかったのです。
Of course, her stepfather didn't have any malicious intent at the start. At first, he just have worked hard to get to At first, he must have worked hard to get his new daughter to accept him. But the young Satoko didn't make any efforts at all towards that end. She was distant towards her stepfather and never opened her heart to him, even a little. She just got on his nerves all the time. The seemingly forced lies and pranks. Her father's discipline and punishment must have been loving at first, of course. But that, too, faded quickly.
私はその時はひなみ沢にいなかったからよく昨日電話で初めて知りました。
先生が聞いたのはどんな話ですか？
さとこちゃんが両親、特に義理のお父さんを陥れるのを目的に嘘の話を作って自分で生活相談所に電話したって。
自称と作り話？
聡子は嫌いなお父さんを追い払うため嘘の電話をしたのです。
Child welfare officers rushed there and heard the story. Her father gently apologized for a few times when he had gone too far, and agreed to let the child welfare center give him coaching.
いろいろと関係機関が調べた結果ね、ギフとさとこちゃんの心のすれ違いに原因があることは分かったんだけど、それ以上にさとこちゃん自身に問題があることが分かったの。
They found another problem about that with Satoko-chan.
さとこに問題って何です？
What was it? What? Satoko's mother, there were a few times where she had lived with de facto husbands, though those relationships didn't result in remarriage. From a young age, Satoko had been forced to call at least 2 or 3 people her father. At some point, Satoko's pranks escalated. She would spill food on purpose, turn over her plate, and even throw it. She would break the windows in the neighborhood and shoplift candy. She would put thumbtacks everywhere and set other traps so seriously to seriously hurt people. Not in the way she did now, just to get a laugh. She was also fond of telling lies that would be found out right away, and people got mad at her every time. But she never ever changed her behavior.
さとこちゃんのことを問題児なんて思わないでね。これは幼いさとこちゃんが母親を知らない男に取られまいとして取った自衛的な行為なの。
In regards to Satoko's problematic behavior, child psychology experts from public institutions indicated her actions were to draw her mother's attention to herself. They acknowledged that she had a form of harmful emotional trauma, and declared that she needed counseling and therapy from professionals. They didn't know whether that therapy had healed the wounds in her heart.
さとこちゃんはわざと体に傷を作り、お父さんに虐待を受けているとね。自分
でも結局さとこをいじめてたわけだろ、そのギフは。
Not this one.
いいえ、虐待の話は全部さとこちゃんの作り話だった。
Hello, Nello. How you doing tonight? You're playing reading Higurashi, chapter 3rd episode. Wait, what? Now, is it muted? Okay, wait. Am I coming through now? Or is it really muted? I thought we were going through. Okay, let me see something. What's this? Game audio is fine. Alright, can you hear me now? Is the audio coming through? I'm very quiet. Oh, alright, let me turn it up then. I'm very quiet. I'm quiet. I like to be quiet sometimes. I like to be quiet sometimes. I can speak. I don't know. I was being a little. I think I was being a little muty for the emotional moments or something. But thank you. Yeah, we're reading a little Higurashi tonight. The third episode. The depressing part about Sadako and her stepfathers. All of it was made up by Satoko-chan.
義理のお父さんはもちろん少し感情的な叱り方をしてしまったかもしれないけど、逸脱しているほどではなかったの。
Sadako had lied to chase away her stepfather. And also, maybe it's also the mic. The mic is kind of far away. You only needed such a little noise. Yeah, I blame the novel mode. I don't know. I like it. I'm not sure why. It feels like it's blending that line between the game and an actual novel. I don't know. I like it. I had it on the standard, the text on the bottom of the screen once. I don't know. I just didn't like it. It's nice because you can see the whole full picture, but I like this more. I'm not sure why. Something about it, because I like how the words dance on the screen. And they saw through her right away, and found out that Satoko had issues.
ひょっとしてそのせいで一昨年の冬は様子見に。
Yes, it sucks.
はい。ちゃんと昔の記録が残ってましたですから。
Why the government doing their job?
サトコの嘘の可能性もあるから慎重に。ということになりましたのです。
She had bruises on last time we saw her. They didn't notice it?
なんだよそれ。
This time?
つまりなんだよ。サトコは嘘をつくかもしれないから慎重に。だから様子を見ろってことになってんのかよ。
狼と羊飼いさんなのです。
It was the girl who cried wolf. Rika, stop it. That's not cute. That fable about telling a lie once, making others unwilling to believe you later.
ふざけんなよ。昔のことなんか全然無関係だろ。
It doesn't, but to outsiders who don't know better, of course they would look at the past.
今現在起こってる事実だけが重要なんだろうが。サトコはおじに虐待されている。どうしてその事実が昔の出来事で歪められなきゃならねえんだよ。
Neither Sensei nor Rika-chan had anything to say about that.
とにかくそれを慎重に判断するために保護士さんが昨日訪れましたのです。
Okay. And Sadako dealt with them, put on the best, strongest smile she could manage, and denied the abuse. Of course, she was probably being threatened to keep quiet about it by her uncle. Sadako was trying to outlast everything without asking for help. Satoko wanted to wait for Satoshi to come back home, and she outright denied the truth of the abuse. No, Geichi. Yes, it's idiotic, but her... What? You're not really enduring it. Do you really think pretending like this will actually bring Satoshi back? Just stop it already. Satoshi, he abandoned you. He didn't. And the fact that he hasn't shown up to save you now is proof, isn't it? So just stop it. Please stop being weird and pretending to endure it.
今した話はいいですね。他の子に喋ったら先生怒りますからね。
How do you expect this over-emotional boy? This over-emotional boy who is trying his hardest to help his best friend, one of his friends, just to forget everything that was just said to him. You see how he's screaming and yelling at you. G-Sensei just makes me feel mad sometimes. G-Sensei gave me a warning, then left to go back to the teacher's lounge.
ケイチ、サトコのことをかわいそうな子なんて思わないでくださいです。
We don't. She's kind of she's too prideful.
サトコはしっかり生きていますです。
She's living life. Yes, Rika, because living. Yes, she's living
サトコは
life.
そんなの分かってる。俺たちのかけがえのない仲間だ。
サトコはまだ頑張っています。もう少し見守ってあげましょうです。相談所の人が今後も定期的に訪問すると言ってるのです。
But periodically, they need to visit almost every goddamn day. And at randoms. No knocking on the door, just coming in whenever they please.
大変なことになったらすぐに助けてくれますよ。
大変なことになった後だろ。
Any more than that would have sounded like I was picking a fight. So I firmly swallowed. Constant surprises. I know. Twist, reveal after reveal. That's how Higurashi goes. Any more than that would have sounded like I was picking a fight. So I firmly swallowed my next words and went back to the classroom. Mion and Rina were talking to Satoko like they always did. It was a silly conversation. A humorous, even fun one. Like it was any old day. If Satoko really said she would still endure it, then maybe I should do it as Rika-chan said and watch over her. Maybe whatever help I offer will go unwanted. But you got to let her know that you're still there with her. Like, just go and visit her. Walk her home. Even if she says no. Again, that kind of sounds kind of bad. But, you know, just make sure she knows you have her back.
さて、お昼でございますわね。
Oh, fuck this.
みー5人揃ってのお昼は久しぶりだね。やっぱりこうじゃないとダメだよね。
まったく同感同感。ほらほらケイちゃんも机寄せて。
Alright, time for lunch. Saga brought her own desk over as well, grinning broadly. Even knowing nothing had been resolved, this exchange was pleasant and made me remember how fun it used to be.
いつまでもリカにお弁当を作ってもらっては悪いですわね。
Shut up and accept your girlfriend's lunch.
いいのですよ。
Drop down. Come back up.
サトコのお弁当を作るのは僕の楽しみなのです。
Rika-chan, such a good girl. I mean, such a good friend. Must be so reassuring.
僕に大きなハンバーグを入れてサトコには焦げたのを入れて
Oh god. Just like a couple. Little fight.
サトコだけかわいそうでミパー。
Wait a second, so it was just Saga would be so sad, so very sad. Oh! That's a little, that's running into two other characters from Umineko, which you'll see, Cogs, when you get to it later. I take it back. Well, she's Rika-chan after all.
ほらほら見て見て、今日はほらオムライスなんだよ。
Omelet rice?
マッシュルームとか美味しそうだよね。だよね。はう。いつもながらお見事なお手前でございましたよ。いつお嫁に行ってもおかしくない腕前ですわね。お嫁。
She like that
お
word.
嫁を食べると
Oh, eating a wife. Okay, so the particular idea she. Okay.
は
I mean, I have an idea what's going through her mind.
レナにお嫁は NG ワードだね。以後控えるように。
あほんのちょっぴり反省しましてよ
Now think about what I've done. A little.
ところでミオンの弁当は何だよ。今日のはまた趣が違って期待大だな。
おじさんはまったりと夕べのおかず詰め合わせね。
Ooh, what you got?
煮
What you
物
got?
がいい感じなんだよ。
Just do.
ほら、大根の色はかなりいいでしょ。
わあ美味しそうなのです
Radishes actually sound really good. I don't think I had any radishes. I don't think I had a radish like a year or so. Damn it! Now I want to get some radishes. I'm supposed to be start a fast lit on tomorrow. God damn it!
煮物は一晩寝かせてからが真骨頂だな。
Stew tastes best when it's left overnight. Come on. Actually, he's kind of right. The few times I made stew, it always tastes a little bit better after a night in the fridge.
これはかなりいけそうだ。よってサトコの分はなし。俺が全部食って感想を聞かせるから黙って見てろ。
なんですって私の分もおよこしなさいな
No. Elbow punch, headbutt. I used my knees too. What the heck? Sadako, please don't eat the camera. Don't eat the camera. Oh, that's not cute. It's so cute. You can see her fang. It's so prominent now because she's so up close.
密着距離まで入れば私の有利は動きませんわね
Yes, it is Satoko. Yes, it is.
ケイキさんの分のお大根が実に美味しいですわ
ちっくしょう。
Damn it.
バトル開始時から密着でいきなりコンボとは無念。
This little change. How long had it been? Looked like they ended up going with the wait and see approach. But maybe her uncle had realized he'd gone a little too far and would dial it back now. If her treatment improved a little, would that be a good thing? Sadako was grinning wider than I ever seen as she chomped down on her mouthful of the dakon, and she plundered from me. Did it really taste that good? It tastes better because she went in a fight. That's a cute image, but those eyes. Why does her eyes look so lifeless? As I've done many times, I grabbed her head and started petting it. No. Catch. Smack. Flip flop.
さとこちゃん
It was so sudden that for a moment I didn't know what had happened. The back of my hand was stinged. I went to pet Satoko's head, and then she hit my hand.
どうしたの、サトコ。
Sadako was scratching at her head, as though a pimple or something had appeared on it and become itchy. It was so sudden and so unprovoked that I didn't understand what happened.
どうしたサトコ。
No. At some point, her body had been covered in a thin layer of sweat and breathing had turned ragged. When I pet her head, did she not like it? Was that what it meant?
お前頭撫でられるの嫌いだったっけ？
Once again, slowly I held out the palm of my hand. It brought it close to Sadako and said, "Why would you do that? You just saw she had a major reaction." And as my palm of my hand touched her head, there was a shock like static electricity, and Sadako began to howl. She grabbed my arm in both hands, and as if fleeing off a snake trying to cling to her, as if trying to throw away something dirty, she threw it violently. It happened too suddenly for me to react. I hit the desk behind me, and both it and I fell to the floor. The classroom fell deathly silent. As Sadako bellowed, it sounded like she was in the throes of death, and she unsteadily backed away. Then she threw up the food she had just eaten. She vomited it all back up. No. The sound of Sadako's vomiting hitting the floor rang through the classroom.
大丈夫かよ、サトコ。具合でも。
I reached out a hand and she swatted away like with all her might. With such extreme strength that I fell onto the floor again. Sadako put both her hands on her head as though protecting it, groaned some more and took a few steps back. And then she began swinging both hands around. Students in nearby seats were forced to evacuate. She grabbed everything within reach, bento boxes, chairs, threw them, tossed them, and flung them about.
ちょっとやめなよ、サトコ。あんたどうしちゃったの？
No. She screamed out as Mion's words caused her physical pain. No one spoke a word to her. All students were withdrawing behind us, leaving Sadako alone in the corner of the classroom. Around her, there were desks and chairs all over the floor. Bento lay scattered. It was terrible. All I could hear was Sadako's ragged breaths and the voices of the cicadas. Don't apologize. The strings of tension loosened around Sadako. And then maybe she suddenly grew scared of her own actions, because she started trembling and gave a word of apology. But nobody knew just what the apology was directed towards. So, for now, I decided to answer as everyone's representative.
いや、そっちこそ大丈夫か？
ごめんなさい。
Our words didn't match each other's at all. Sadako hugged her shoulders, and back she went. She ran to the locker with the cleaning supplies in it, and that made her give a little yelp. The impact caused the buckets atop the locker to fall, making a loud sound, and that scared Sadako most of all. She almost jumped out of her skin, grabbing a bunch of the curtains in her hands. Nobody spoke to her. They could only look, not even remembering to blink. No, stop apologizing.
ごめんなさい。私じゃないです。
Sadako, what? What on earth? I stood up, took a step away from everyone, and approached Sadako.
何があったんだ？
What?
私知らないです。違うから。もう嫌です。やめてください。許して。
落ち着けよ。さとこ、俺がわかるか？
もうやだ、もうやだ、やです、やです。
Every time I took a step forward, she grasped the curtains more tightly and cried out.
さとこ、俺だよ。ケイチだ。わかんないのか？お前に危害なんか加えない。
No, no. I don't like it. I hate clicking this button right now. I hate clicking it. I hate clicking it.
だから落ち着けって。大丈夫だ。俺はお前の味方だって。
助けて、助けて。怖いのやだ、痛いのやだ、やだ。
Suddenly, my shoulders were grabbed and I was dragged backward. It was Rina?
ごめん、ケイチくん。ケイチくんはちょっと後ろに行ってて。
After pulling me back, she ran towards Sakako in my place.
大丈夫だよ、さとこちゃん。もう怖いことなんかないよ。ほら、安心して。やだ、やだ、やだ。もうやだ、やだ。でも、やだ。ニーニー。ニーニー。助けて。助けて。ニーニー。助けてよ。
I picked up the curtains and kept calling for Nini. She continued to wail about being forgiven for something and to be saved from something. What is this? Mia gnashed her teeth and groaned. There were tears falling from firmly closed eyes.
どうなってんだよ、これ。昨日で全部終わったんじゃないのか？今日からまた元の生活に戻っていくんじゃないのか？
No.
ミオ、ミオ。
What? There was a crazy sound. Ran had taken the cleaning supply locker and kicked it down to the ground. Everyone stood surprised at Rena's unexpected act of brutality. After that, Rena embraced the bawling Satoko from behind and started crying with her, stifled.
レナ、どうした？
What was wrong?
ごめん。ケイチくん、ちょっと黙ってて。
今のはなんだよ。
Just be quiet.
どうしたんだよ。サトコから何か聞いたのか？何を聞いたんだよ。
Shut up.
サイナー。
Yes, ma'am.
黙ってろって言ってんでしょ。
Sorry. Rena's raw, hostile emotion hit me like a brick. It was no more than a momentary howl of emotion for Rena, but it was more than that for me. She had shown me that what was behind all that emotion, what was in her heart.
さとこちゃん。やだやだやだやだ。もうやだやだやだ。許して。何もできなかった私たちを許して。ニーニー。ニーニー。ニーニー。
So nasty, so nasty.
ごめんね。ごめんね。
I'm sorry, Satoko. Forgive us for being unable to do anything. Oh, black and white. Ren's words made me feel as though the blood vessels in the back of my head were suddenly turned to ash. My vision grew distant, blurred with gray, and the world lost its color. I thought we could save Satoko. But though I knew it would be sooner the better, I thought there was no time limit for doing that. I never even dreamed that we could be too late. I've been making a huge mistake. I thought Satoko could be hurt, but never that she'd break. It was such a huge mistake. People, they break. Think that they don't is absolutely absurd. We need to save Satoko. We need to save her before she broke. That fatal lapse in awareness had brought this on. Whose fault was it? That went without saying. Mine? No. Ours? We all took on the duty of saving Satoko, but we were neglected to the point of laziness. In that sense, this was the inevitable result. Even if this didn't happen today, it didn't happen tomorrow or the day after or the next week, we could never just sat around doing nothing until that day. So this was the obvious result. I slumped down to my knees, just as Mion and Nikichan had done. And I too closed my eyes tight and couldn't stop myself from sobbing.
何の騒ぎですか？ちょっと何があったんです？
The teacher came, and her face screwed up at the terrible spectacle before her. The instant she realized the teacher was here, Satoko went through another complete change. She wiped her face with the curtains and, like nothing happened, smiled.
北条さん、これは一体何事ですか？
Satoko, why?
ちょっとレナさんと喧嘩になってしまっただけですわよ。
No! Stop lying! Stop lying!
お弁当をめぐってちょっぴり大暴れなんですの。ね。
Ronan did not in reply. But then, since Satoko wished it, she nodded without strength. The rest of the class couldn't keep up with her extreme changes. We all just stared in daze.
ちょっと悪ふざけをしただけなんですのよ。皆さん、度肝を抜かれすぎでございますわね。
He did more than that, Satoko. Satoko would probably sweep the whole thing under the rug. For what? Her heart is torn to pieces, so what? What else? You wanted your Nini to help, didn't you? But unfortunately for you, Satoshi doesn't ever intend to come back. It's never that easy. He won't just conveniently show up and save you. So, you don't have to wait for him anymore. You can cry, beg for help, and you can just run away. You run away.
私たちが無力だから。
Mion suddenly said. She spoke then, those few words that had tormented me countless times. Those words were a spell, and when I heard them, my whole body suddenly regained its calm. My emotions all slipped away like they'd never been there. Like a wave departing. Oh. Oh, what's his beak? Dancer's number 7? Okay. This is an interesting change. It sounded like it helped clear up the mood. And then the world's colors flipped inside out. my field of view expanded. My heart grew remarkably cold, and I felt like my mind's volume had grown even wider than the classroom we were in. But at the time, my soul was doubtlessly no longer in the small, petty vessel of my head, but floating in the air a little bit above it. It was a mysterious feeling of release. I broke free of the cramped confines of my skull and stretched out my roots in all directions as far as I wanted. It was a strange feeling, and one I never felt ever before. An odd sense of exhilaration. My sharpened senses caused me to transcend. My mind was sharper than knife's edge, and I immediately decided that spending the time to let myself be crushed with grief would be an absolute waste. I erased all the garbage information from my brain. I expelled the pointless emotions pressing obstacles to action.
ミオ、お前は呪ってろ。
Curse it all you want.
自分の無力さを
Curse our
いつまでも。
powerlessness as much as you want.
え？
If I could have taken back what happened by crying about it, I have cried all day. But the fact was, this was how things had turned out. I couldn't take back what had happened. The top priority then would be to prevent the situation from worsening further and to sever the chains of misfortune. Until today, I've been looking at things so narrow-mindedly, I could scarcely believe it. To save Satoko, the only thing to do was to save Satoko. The only thing to do was to save Satoko. That was the only thing I thought about. I didn't allow myself to realize the most basic, direct, and certain way of removing the source of Satoko's unhappiness. No, actually, I realized it yesterday. But as far as the means, I relied on some stupid curse from some dumb deity. I never considered carrying out the task myself. I would obliterate Satoko's uncle. There were plenty of ways to do it. This was a task that held infinite methods. Ironically, the method of saving Satoko required mostly money. But the method of killing that man pretty much took no money at all. I could kill him with the least amount of investment. The least amount of money suited him. It was the only weight of his life. I kept eliminating needless, worthless information from my head, replenishing it with only the knowledge I need to achieve my goal. I used every cell in my brain to think about how I killed him. The way I killed him didn't matter. I will allow any method from whatever time and whatever country as long as it ended in a quick and certain death. If I were to have an additional condition, it would to be not get caught. Removing him was an act designed to return the peaceful times we had with Satoko. If I was arrested in exchange for the removal, then we might as well have killed each other. With him only gone, we go back to our normal lives. That was my supreme objective. My ultimate goal. Kill him, definitely. But definitely doesn't leave evidence either. Two alternatives at odds with one another. The condition of not leaving a trace behind to me automatically narrow the number of murder methods. No witnesses an absolute must. Fortunately, given the right time in Hinamizawa, there would be nobody around. I mentally reconstructed the land around Satoko's house. The number of pedestrians different from different times. The movement of algorithm of the neighbors. Will I lure him out or charge at him? What would my weapon be? When and where would I carry this out? Where? It need to be somewhere I couldn't leave a trace. When? It need to be as soon as possible for Satoko's safety without wasting even a millisecond. This is absurd. Completely absurd. Then I thought about it this way. It struck me how easy the act of killing was. If I could leave evidence, it was just going to kill him. Anyone could easily turn into a murderer. But our reason prevented that. It told us doing so would get us arrested for sure. In the end, being arrested by the police was the final thing preventing people from committing homicide. That's not exactly true, but you're not also exactly wrong. Absurd. If you went all the way into the very middle of the ocean, you wouldn't leave any trace at all. Anyone would drop those they had hated into the depths of it. They knew that. It was all too easy to simply remove him. I could leave class right now, grab a metal baseball bat or something from the schoolyard, go to his house and attack him. Estimated time would be 25 minutes. If I want us to kill each other, it wouldn't even be minutes. I could do it in 1500 seconds. I knew just how much I knew just how much his continued existence depended on me. He was nothing. I could expel him from this world within just 1500 seconds, after making up my mind. From when I decided what to do, he only had 1500 seconds. Actually, if I ran at full speed to his house, that number would go down even further. But he was alive. He was still part of this world at this very moment, having torn Satoko's body and mind to shreds. Why? Because I was letting him live. I was permitting him to live, so he was alive. If I rescinded that permission, he would be evacuating this mortal coil within 1500 seconds. You think I let you breathe even 1500 more seconds of air? I'm taking that permission back. Right here. Right now. You better thank me for letting you live until today. However, I actually need more than 1500 seconds. I'm not going to end you. Getting back our old lives is far more important. It's only you'll be clearly cutting out of this world. They won't find a culprit. I'll forget that I dirty my hands on the likes of you as naturally as I brush my teeth before bed. So to do that, I'll make a special exception for you and give you more than 1500 seconds. I'll give you special permission to keep on living as you have until I can construct the perfect plan for your murder. Wait, Keiji. You can't let that time go to waste. Yeah, I know. I'll kill him quickly. I'll remove him with certainty. Remove him with certainty? That's a... You shouldn't know that word, Keiji Marabara. You shouldn't know that word. I won't even waste much time to prevent that plan. Think back. Tomorrow is Watanagashi, isn't it? Last year, the night of Watanagashi, her aunt died. Her head was busted open by some deviant and her brains splattered everywhere. That's it. He's someone who deserves to be given death on the night of Watanagashi. Hey, Oyashiro-sama. You call yourself a guardian, but you didn't protect Satoko. Cursing Satoko's family for the damn stuff is your own business, but now you made Satoko unhappy when she didn't have anything to do with it. I, Keiji Marabara, hereby denounce you, the guardian deity Hinamizawa, a failure. We don't need you! Go back to the deepest, darkest parts of your shrine this year. Besides, if you had just cursed and killed both her aunt and uncle last year, none of this would have ever happened. The curse this year is not on you. I'll be the one deciding. It won't be the three families controlling the serial deaths behind the scenes. No, not some vague people who I can't tell if they're buffoons or not. This time, I'll be the one to deliver divine judgment. So don't get in my way. Just watch. Stay quiet and watch. I'll obliterate him. I'll wipe him off the face of the earth. I will stomp out his very existence. Go away, disappear, and die. I'll tear your heart apart just like you did to Satoko. I'll have your blood as payment. What was that last thing? What was that, growl or yell?
ケイチくん、大丈夫？
No, his mind transcended to godhood. He's almost acting like light when he has the death note. Rena, Neon, and Rika-chan were looking at me. I fallen to the floor.
急に倒れたからびっくりしたよ。うなされてなかった？
More like an epiphany.
うなってたよ。
He was moaning. Oh no, Keiichi, you weren't having that kind of dream, were you?
うるさい。
Shut up.
黄色い声で話しかけるな。
Keiichi? Did you just finish puberty? What's those noises? My friends gave a start and backed away.
なんだよ。
Ren and the others, they exchanged glances, unsure of what to say, and stood confused for a few moments.
今の、ケイチくんの声。
Sounds like you just turned 30.
当たり前だろ
Rena gulped firmly and opened her mouth.
今一瞬、ケイチくん、すごい目だった。
う。目？
Eh?
光の角度でそう見えたんだろ。バカバカしい。
Don't waste my time.
見間違いじゃないよ。あんな目、初めて見た。
What were these guys talking about? They all been too scared of me lately.
前原ケイチくんだよね。
What was Rena saying? Who else did I look like except Keiichi Marabara? The look I gave her seemed to speak quite eloquently to those irritated thoughts. She understood and quickly apologized.
ごめん、気にしないでね。
Oh, Gage. Why you do that, boy? Why you do that? Stop on. Gage, he just transcended. He went beyond Super Saiyan. 1,500 seconds. That's, yeah. Our achievement title? Okay. What do you got for tips? Tips. Emergency and D2-3 number 44. What you got here? June 18th, 1983. Abuse issued regarding Satoko Hojo. Urgent. We propose that Satoko Hojo must be taken into immediate custody based on the items below. 1. Family situation. Life with adoptive father who recently returned to Hinamizawa had already turned disastrous, and she is currently subject to unendurable physical and mental abuse from the father. Child Consultation Center response. A child probation officer was dispatched yesterday at the 17th from the prefecture welfare office, but because of the 77 case, changed to continue coaching and cautionary action. Unfortunately, the consultation officer does not properly understand the situation. Status of concerned child. Child already appears to be suffering from outbreak of something close to neurosis or manic depression, and her unstable prepubescent mind is negatively stimulated by stress. It will put her development of a healthy body and mind at risk. This cannot be allowed to continue from a humane standpoint. 4. Allegations made to the family court. We propose, based on the above items, that Satoko Hojo should be immediately be taken into protective custody. She should be secured temporarily under emergency allegation to the family court under Article 28. We request emergency coordination between all related agencies. So I'm guessing that's what Chi Sensei wrote up immediately after that incident. So D23, number 44. Children with special needs. General D2-3, number 44. 1977. Date, day and month blank. Child name. Satoko Hojo. Residence. Hinamizawa Village. Shishibon. Consultation circumstances. Telephone. SOS from child of abuse. Telephone SOS from child of child abuse. Abuse situation. Child claims she's being physically abused by her adoptive father. Family structure. Mark abusers. Adoptive father. Real mother. Older brother. Child in question. Note. Adoptive father and real mother entered family registry in blank. The child is the daughter of the mother's previous husband. Child Consultation Center responses. On the day of the child's telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked of her situation. On that day, the child welfare officer on duty visited the child's house and conducted an interview. The adoptive father sincerely listened to instructions and agreed to take child raising workshops in the city from now on. As part of the suggested coaching, the center will continue to observe the situation. Other notes. As a result of numerous consultation sessions of the city's education, as a result of numerous counseling sessions at the city's education consultation office regarding the child, we learned there is a high possibility that the cause of the child's excessive distrust towards her adoptive father was a result of a lack of communication. The abuse she claimed hadn't actually taken place. She had made a false report to distance herself from her adoptive father. Below is a note written in pencil by the person on duty at the time. The problem appeared to be more with the daughter. Chief Investigator F of the city's education consultation office has said that most of her stories of abuse were likely fabrications. They decided to shift the focus of their coaching to the child. Be cautious not to take everything the child says as truth. That's a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes the kid might be oversaturate some parts, but you should take everything very seriously. Let's keep going. Let's keep going for like another hour or so. We're gonna take a small, quick little break. Like give me like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes or so. I'll be right back. Okay? Right back. Listen to the cicadas. Okay, we're back, back. Mion and the others having to set up for the Watangashi festival or something. Invite me along, but I refused. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy, setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerves. Nerve. The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat. It was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it. So we could get out peacefully. Get our peaceful days back. As I thought about it, I realized it wasn't easy. Japan's police force had been the highest arrest rate in the world. Yeah? I would need to definitely pull off the perfect crime. And it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate. I read a lot of articles on the trials with people brought up on false charges. At court, they consider whether the charges are false or not, but figuring out the real criminal is entirely out of scope. And that meant perfect crimes did exist. In fact, perfect crimes were sort of like works of art. They could even be respected and revered. Just had to look at the uninitiated of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult to solve incidents, in solving secret rooms, and alibis and stuff. They all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes. Perfect crimes were skills of the gods. And in that sense, the serial freak deaths, they were calling the curse of Oishiro-sama. I understood. They must have been the works of gods. Each one appeared to have been resolved, but they couldn't stop it from happening every year. Yeah, skills belonging only to gods. Those were the perfect crimes. I can feel the... I can feel the sparks of Umineko in Ryukishi's brain as he was writing this part. Perfect crimes that can only be caused by gods or witches, and it would be setting up, and I would be setting up my own crime before Oishiro-sama's series of perfect crimes 4 years in a running. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I need to be calm, cool, colder than ice, to put that plan together. Kill him like a flame. But as sympathetic, I know the word, just cannot say it, as ice. Starting now, I need to retain both of those ideas within me. Molding my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Sometimes, kidnapping involved disturbing original methods that made it into the newspaper were used as basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff like that made it into the news. Day and night, for a very long time, mystery novel authors polished, and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Of course, I haven't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. The one who really liked mystery novels was my mom. She read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from past and present. Every time she watched mystery shows, she would always criticize them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her. What's happening?
これまでの推理小説の中で母さんが一番よくできたと思った完全犯罪？
Yeah, Mom, just out of curiosity. Can you tell me? Tell me?
うん。母さんって結構たくさん推理小説を読んでるでしょ。そういうの詳しいかなって思って。
それを読むから楽しいのよ。
That's right. You gotta learn the golden truth on your own.
初めからトリックを教えちゃったら楽しみがなくなっちゃうわ。
You ruined the magic. It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting the question, so I would somehow butter her up first and draw out an answer.
そうね。よくできた推理小説。
Sorry, the chair popped.
結構どれもこれもいろんな魅力があってどれが面白かったとは言いにくいけど強いてあげれば
母さんの好きな小説のタイトルが知りたいんじゃないよ。母さんが一番舌を巻いた完全トリックが知りたいんだよ。
Yeah, just what make you jump out of your seat?
本当に完全なトリックだったら名探偵に解く余地がないじゃない。
That's the point. That's true. Then there'd be no point.
推理小説は解ける謎をいかに解くかの過程を楽しむものよ。解けない謎だったらそれは推理小説の題材になり得ないわね。
You're right, you're right.
そっか。そりゃそうだよな。主人公に解けなかったらお話として成立しないもんな。
Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel was basically a game. Hey, isn't this? Are they talking about what we're playing right now? They were written so that you can get to the goal, so that you can solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. You need to be all end all tricks, so we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives.
ということはケイチ、
Yes, Mom?
真の完全犯罪は物語にすらならないというのがわかるかしら？
That's the point, Mother. That's the point. Mom looked at me intellectually and grinned impishly. I never got to read it, but apparently one time a long time ago, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently, she was really into it. Don't even become stories. What does that mean?
ケイチ、物語の最低構成要素は？
起承転結。
What essential parts of the story?
正解。特に肝心なのは当たり前だけど木に当たる部分
You
よ。
gotta figure out where to start your stories, where to place the characters.
スタートの木がなかったらそもそも物語は始まらない。
そりゃそうだよ。何も起こらなかったら何も始まらない。
そう。何も起こらないから事件にもならない。探偵も呼ばれないから推理もない。推理がないなら解決もない。つまりこれが究極の完全犯罪。
Ultimate perfect crime.
ちょっと待って。
What?
もう一度説明してくれるかな。
Alright, let's go up. Right, nothing happened, so there wouldn't be an incident. Detectives wouldn't be called, so there wouldn't be any mystery. There would be no mystery, so there would be no solution. In other words, it would be the ultimate perfect crime. Mom just told me something absurd. She was saying it so smoothly. Still, so I kinda turned her out, but she said something extremely important just now.
そんな難しい話じゃないわよ。そもそも 事件が発覚しなければいいだけの話。
そもそも発覚しない事件。
Yeah.
つまり、例えばよ、
Okay.
誰も立ち入らない深い森の奥でおじいさんが一人暮らしをしているとする。
Okay.
そのおじいさんがある日斧で殺されました。
Okay.
ちなみに犯人はじゃあおじいさんの息子ね。
Oh, she went really dark right there.
おじいさんの家に来て一緒にお酒を飲んでいたんだけど、ちょっと喧嘩になって殺してしまった。
Okay. What an extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime without a bit of planning. It was pretty far from a perfect crime.
でも圭一、
Okay, you know what, mother?
そこはとてもとても深い森の中の一軒家なの。
Okay.
普段は絶対に誰も訪れない深い山奥の深い
Perfect place to hide
深
a
い森の中。
body. A lot of dirt.
さて、殺した息子は町に帰ってきてこう言うの。おじいさんは元気だったって。
Yeah, he's doing fine. No one goes up to visit him. It could be months, it could be weeks, months before anyone realizes that he's missing.
それのどこが完全犯罪なの？
Because you have plenty of time to get rid of the body, perfect time to create alibis, perfect time to make up stories.
圭一、この事件はね、おじいさんが殺されているのが見つかって初めて木を迎えるのよ。
はい。
もしもこの後誰もおじいさんの家を訪れなかったら、永久に木は訪
This
れ
game
ない。
would never occur.
だからつまり物語は始まらない。
Yeah, it only starts when you find the body.
事件が発覚しないから探偵も呼ばれない。そもそも誰も不審に思わないから謎も起こらない。
は
おじいさんは今日も一人でのんびり森の奥で暮らしているんだろうね。で、お空におじいさんの顔が浮かんで、ジエンド。どう？こんな感じで。
すごいじゃないか。それちゃんとしたトリックだよ。
Of course you think he's amazing. You're a kid.
でも娯楽小説にはならないわね。
But it wouldn't be a novel.
推理小説は所詮娯楽書。
Entertainment, after all.
完全犯罪の指南書にはなり得ないんだから。
Instruction manuals for perfect crimes. Right, gotta do the opposite of the novels. I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash, none of them were needed for perfect crimes. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, it would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out, and dispose of the corpse somewhere no one could find, it would basically already be a perfect crime. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day, all of a sudden, people would get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year, after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oishiro-sama. When the night of Watanagachi came around again, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. I mean, he'd been living with a lover of his own in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. People hated him after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There was no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left, getting my bike out of the garage. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling cool air on my body. Where I killed a man, how I do it, what time and how to dispose of the corpse. If I just had those 4 things, I could get a good plan going. I was so surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered. I've been completely prepared to build this homogeneous plan over a really long period of time. But if I could just get these little things in order, I could put into motion. Today was Saturday. I could have killed him on the night of Watanagashi. So as long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I only had 24 hours remaining. Satoko. Just hang on. Just a few more hours. I can't even imagine having to suffer through even more. But please hold on for a little longer. I know you can't even last another second. I know that. But please just hold on. Your Nini will save you for sure. Outside, it was really early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Early afternoon. Evening was still a long way off. I looked at the sky. At some point it had gotten cloudy. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard on the TV that the weather forecast was calling for a chance of rain on Sunday. The sky was the color of lead. If I heard a little bit of thunder, I definitely have been expected a sudden evening shower. This is music. What's it called? Frozen to Death? It's nice. A little cool, somber. I like it. My first destination was school. Before explaining why I was going there, I needed to explain what method for killing that man I had decided upon. I decided that the most suitable death, the one I need to give him, was the same as last year's curse. The same as the punishment their aunt had received, being beaten to death. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? You may think that stabbing him with a blade would be more reliable, but this was something I had chosen after a lot of thought. It was symbolic. You just need to think realistically. The law, it prohibited carrying any blade longer than 10 centimeters, I think. The blades available to me, even the longest ones, were still limited to things shorter than a ruler. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back. In that case, a weapon with more reach, like a staff, would be far more advantageous. It might not be quite as inherently lethal, but since you could just keep hitting the guy until you killed him, the end result was the same. So, what's a staff-like deadly weapon? Terrifying powerful, and also immediately portable. By this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon. Of course, note is this fact that you can carry one around in broad daylight, and not thought to be as suspicious. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose the metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a metal bat in particular. I will speak about it later. I don't need to tell you. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun and playing in the schoolyard. I could show up there and it would be the same as always, so nobody will think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on the weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat, it would definitely be suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I need to be really careful even about that. That left school, a location in which my appearance wouldn't be suspicious. I could acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course there was nobody there. The only students who would stay in there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, as if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went to the entrance. It looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet as quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. The empty room was full of strange, stagnant air that you couldn't feel normally. An empty classroom with nobody here. Maybe while no one was around, the desks were creaked of their own accord, licking the floors, clean of dirt. I suddenly stepped into a place like that, with the desk and their surprise fly at me, crush my bones, eat me alive.
バカバカしい。
That's ridiculous. Ridiculous, I say. I felt a regret of wasting valuable thinking time of stupid delusions. The students' lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was a forbidden locker. One I accidentally discovered one day.
あった。北条。間違いない。
If one person had one locker, then why would only Satoko have two? I made a fuss about it once. After that, I learned it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. But of course, even though it was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside was still a shameless act. But one time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and took a peek inside. Inside was average and worthless. At the time, I hadn't been interested. At the time, I hadn't been interested. So until now, I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now that I had, dare I say, awakened, I remembered the thing that I had been in there. What was in there? I opened the locker, and a stench of mold and sweat wafted out, like a gem storehouse that had been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered at the stench, but I looked for it. What's the noise? What's the noise? Yes. Satoshi was on the coach baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinamizawa fighter uniform. And it. The one Satoshi used. The metal bat. Yes. This was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried out by me, and this wasn't originally my role. It was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him, and call myself Satsuko's Nimi. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. I reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. It was light, yet its tip had enough heft in it to easily imagine the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you still care even a little bit about her, you will. Lend me your strength. There's no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now I just need to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow, before the act, I would just stop by the school and grab it. Because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone would see me bring it home and think it was strange. But if I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was just the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Nobody would be coming to school. I left out the entrance and went over to the construction vehicle parked nearby. We've been warned by our teacher not to... We've been warned by our teacher not to touch it. We've been warned by our teacher not to touch it just for laughs. So none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. I probably hid it in the shadow of the vehicle. The chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none, because tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off, and from what my classmates have said, the thing had been left here for years now. Machines had been moved Machines that have been moving years, you can't just suddenly start them up again. So I was almost indefinitely fine in this case. The sunlight was piercingly hot, and my head grew faint for a moment. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? A moment of dull thoughts like this was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple hits in the head, then looked around warily. Okay, next, how to dispose of the corpse. Ooh, we're getting closer to Tatarigoroshi. Disposing of the corpse. Alright, I'm gonna fix my body. Moving too close to the side. Next. Quick little boop. And boop, and boop, and boop. And we're back. Disposing of the corpse. The ultimate way not to create a beginning was not to let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Thinking of it vaguely, the first thing that came to mind was the swamp. Onigafuchi, the dreadful bottomless swamp, revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was first here, and then the village took its name to become Onigafuchi village. In other words, this swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back to the surface of this bottomless swamp. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of the demons below the earth. That was how the stories went. If I was trying to copy Oishiro-sama's curse, then I felt the theory demanded I discard the remains of the weapon into the swamp. But they may say it is bottomless. But I didn't actually know. If people say large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, granting a lot of buoyancy. It was why using fairly heavy objects to hold people down didn't work. Come to think of it, with the curse the year before last, Rikichan's mother drowned herself in the swamp. And the criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing the year of the first curse, too, it was rumored he tried to discard the body in the swamp and accidentally drowned in it. I never heard of the corpse coming back up or them finding it. Then, shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse here, too? I could discard the weapon there. And then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle and attacked, it would be convenient to get rid of the bike too. I knew that Sadako's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transportation. But as for the corpse, after a lot of worrying, I decided not to discard the corpse in the swamp. The drowning, suicide, and accident were both rumors. Oh, I said the S word. I'm sorry, Twitch. Am I allowed to? I know that a lot of people don't like that word. It's a no word. I can say shit, piss, and everything else, but I say that word. That makes some people unhappy. There was no lack of false rumors about the drowning in the gaming, anyway, and it was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there, and was still on the run. That meant no one ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there, and then not coming back up. Then what would I do with the body? I thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident, cut him into pieces and hide him, but the preparation and work for dismembering a body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. Without that, the question, I arrived at the conclusion to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. Then, where I would bury it was a question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time and proximity to the body at a minimum. With that in mind, I would want to dig the hole to dump the body in beforehand, and to make the location that act in the hole close together. The choice of where to plan the crime, that I need to be absolutely careful and thorough with. It had to be somewhere nobody would witness it, in a place where hiding places were a sneak attack. I could dig a hole for the body right there. I go over the possibilities in my head. On the various destinations her uncle would head to from Sadako's house. I imagined a map of the area in my head, and then I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily it was almost unbelievable. A bit of a back road that went through the woods. I didn't think her uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Yagouchi on a whim. If he was going somewhere, he passed through these woods first. And nobody used this back way unless they had something to do at Sadako's house, or one or two of the other places. This path was fantastically ideal, as few people used it. I would wait for him in these woods. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went into the trees and tried really hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. I didn't know where he'd come, but I wait right here for Sadako's uncle. I actually had some trouble coming to that decision. The question arose whether I should somehow call out the man. Was there a risk I'd be taking by luring him here? That man made Sadako do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Tatarigoroshi festival. Would he go out? Ah! Stop yawning, bad demon. Would he go out for the festival, or stay inside? If he stayed inside, how would I drag him out of his house? That's right. Wouldn't he make Sadako go to the festival? Sadako would go to the festival. Meanwhile, I could call the man. This is the Okamiya police station. We have the young lady from your house. Could you come and pick her up immediately? I didn't even have to be the police. This is the clinic. The young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yes, that will work too. If I claimed to be the police or the hospital, told him to come, and then hung up on him, he rushed there trying to figure out what had happened, what was going on, wouldn't he? And just the other day, he was visited by the probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly jumble about having to get his niece and not go. It would look like child neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Sadako, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Conclusion? If he went out to the festival, I would attack him here, on his way there or back. If he didn't, I will lure him out by phone. If luring him out by phone was my first step, I need to be sure Sadako would go to the festival, leaving the house. It would be convenient if I could make Neon take Sadako to the festival. She said her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to a prohibition officer. Or probation? I said prohibition. Probation officer. But I somehow incited Neon to take Sadako to the festival with her. Well, being who she was, she used that fact and get her there. Sadako should just take a break and have fun at the festival with everyone. Drink break. She should have gone. She should have a good time. Remnants on our former peaceful days. And when she went home, everything would be over. Yeah, that would be the best outcome. With that decided, I need to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body. So it wouldn't stand out. So it wouldn't be found. Someplace nobody would see me a while. I was completely exposed as I buried the corpse. I had waited to be close to the scene of the crime, but it naturally grew farther away. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, the voices of the Higurashi were the only sounds here, informing me that people shouldn't be indiscreetly set foot in this place.
穴を掘るか。
Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I envisioned. I snuck a gardening spade out here in my bag, but that wouldn't be enough. Still, as I looked into the various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow I bring a real shovel from the storeroom at home. I managed with that. I wonder how big a hole would be to fit a human all the way into it. I probably had to dig pretty deep down. But if I was slipshod in these efforts, I let a beginning occur. I absolutely couldn't allow that. Use any amount of time you need. I mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. I glanced at my wristwatch. It was a little past 6. It was probably all I was going to get done here for today. I really wanted to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out. But Mom would be upset if I stayed out that late. It wouldn't be good to come off as suspicious to my parents. I need to go back home and give Miana a call soon. I need to get her to promise Satoko to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? I decided where to kill him. I decided how to kill him. I decided, of course, how to dispose of the body. I didn't decide on a time, though, but I could play that by ear. Didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Have I overlooked something? Would this really go how I planned? After all, these worries started welling up one by another. Well, it was only natural to be anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. I could not allow failure, and I had no experience at this time of my first time. I didn't have the know-how, the knack. So it was only natural I'd be anxious. Feels like you're talking about something else than murder, my boy. The dark clouds on my knees told me doing nothing would be the easiest way. A truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. Had you forgotten how miserable Satoko looked? From the outside, it may have looked like it was resolute. But deep down in my heart, my knees were shaking loudly. I never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. Could I really kill someone? I may have been planning an ambush, but my enemy was large and far older than me. He had a scary face and he looked like he was well accustomed to fighting. Could I have? All the pieces before me after the murder were perfectly planned. But was the actual murder the most important part? Was unsettled me the most? All my preparations, all my perfectly concealed machinations. If I didn't successfully murder him, they would amount to nothing. Damn it. After coming this far, you pathetic Keiichi Marabara. If you start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go home and calm your mind. Tomorrow will be juncture in your life at which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. A day of murder to kill someone for someone else's sake. With that day behind us, we would take it back again. Those mild spring-like days we never thought would stop. Those safe, peaceful, fun times. I pleaded my bicycle hard and back home. To get back home. It felt somehow unsteady. Like my body and soul weren't in alignment. I felt a shift between where the tips of my hands and feet already were and where I felt them to be. My vision was a little distant and narrow, as if the great barrier I risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. Sorry, my eyes are playing tricks on me. I thought this polar here was shaking for some reason. I don't know why, but it was freaking me out. An unreal sensation. How could I put it? Everything was so far away. Fine. Feel your unease permit you Kage Marbar, and that will turn you timidity into meticulousness, and allow you to act with greater caution. Then it actually is an important emotion to feel. This feeling I had never went away that night. What happened? Gonna switch to nighttime? Yes. It was the first time I'd been calling Mion's house. I searched for her in the phone book the school gave me, then dialed a short phone number, the kind unique to remote places. It was around dinner time. She would probably be home, but just as I started to think nobody would respond, someone finally picked up the receiver.
はい、園垣です。
あ、夜分遅くにすみません。ミオンか。
Yes?
え、どちら様です？
俺だよ、ケイジだ。
ああ、ケイちゃんか。
Yep, Kit-chan.
何こんな時間に。
She seemed to be in a really good mood, and she drew her syllables out. Wait. She drew her syllables out? Listen to her speak. Let her speak for a second. Right in the night before its festival, so she probably with her family having some drinks.
悪いな、こんな時間に。今、時間は大丈夫か？
うん。何？
サトコのことなんだけど。
I heard her draw in a small breath on the other end.
さとこ、大変なことになっちゃったね。
That's Shion. That's Shion, isn't it? Shion talks a little different than Mion.
大丈夫かな？
The scent of sake had completely disappeared from her voice.
大丈夫なわけないだろう。お前も見ただろう。あれ。
What?
あんな擦り切れるまでにいじめ抜かれて、俺たちはあんなになるまでずっと見捨ててきた。
見捨ててたわけじゃないよ。
And she didn't fail her.
みんな助けようとして必死に考えてたよ。
Okay, that may not be Shion. I'm not sure why I started thinking it was Shion.
でも結局何も思いつかなかったし、サトコを救えたわけじゃないだろう。結局あんなになるまで俺たちは何もできなかった。
そうだね。私は結局見てただけかも。
だからさ、せめて一夜くらい遊ばせてやろうじゃないか。
え？遊ばせるって？
はい。
あいつもいろいろと参ってるのわかるだろう。だからさ、明日の綿流しのお祭りにあいつを連れて行ってやってほしいんだ。
それは構わないけど、どうして？
どうしてって。
Why?
せめて祭りの夜くらい息抜きさせてやりたいじゃないか。
Yeah, you know.
たとえ一夜でもあの意地悪なおじの元から離れられるなら、短い時間でもきっとサトコは喜ぶ。
I mean, for a little while.
だからどうして？
Why?
どうしてって
Why what?
何がだよ。
I was having a little difficult understanding what Neon was asking me.
どうしてケイちゃんが連れて行ってあげないの？私に頼まなきゃならないの？
Neon was persistent about odd things. No, maybe it'd be better to say that she was sharp.
俺、実はちょっと明日は用事があってさ、祭りには行けない。だからサトコ、ミオンが連れて行ってやってほしい。
用事って？
大した用事じゃないんだ。多分すぐに片付くと思うけど、ひょっとすると明日は合流できないかもしれない。なあミオン、明日の夜だけサトコを頼めないか。
Neon took a long time to give her reply. I got the feeling that Neon had been acting weird for a while now. That she was flustered by emotions or something.
いや。
Huh? Was that a sob? Neon? Are you crying?
私嫌だって言ったじゃない。私なんかに押し付けられても困るって。
別に押し付けるつもりなんかないよ。明日の夜だけでいいんだ。
嘘だったじゃない。
No, that is Shion. That is Shion. Neon, what was she talking about?
綿流しの夜だけって言って結局ずっとだった。嘘つき。でもおあいこかな。私全然あなたとの約束あの子はずっとほったらかしだしね。
I had no idea what to say to that. Neon was clearly not talking to someone other than me. I didn't know who. All I could do was listen to her in a daze.
あれからずっと帰ってこないのに、あの子のことをもう一度押し付けるためだけに、本当にずるい。ねえ、あなた、サトシ君
Satoshi-kun.
なんでしょ？
No.
ミオン、さっきから何の話だ？
What is she talking about? When I said her name, whatever spell was on Neon was released.
ごめん。なんでもないの。ちょっとケイちゃんの今の電話にそっくりな電話を昔受けたことがあって。
それ、ひょっとしてサトシか？
Neon didn't answer. All I could hear were sobs coming through the receiver.
ごめんね。ちょっと私寝ぼけてるみたい。変なとこで感情的になっちゃった。ごめんね。焦ったでしょ。
I had no idea how it happened, but I was pretty sure that last year, on this very day, Satoshi had called Neon and told her to bring Sadako to the festival. And when she asked why he needed her to do it, he replied the same what I just did.
サトシ、祭りに行かなかったんだな。
うん。用事があるから自分は行けないって言って。代わりに私にサトコを祭りに連れて行ってくれって。
その時、サトシも言ったんだな。サトコを頼むって。
うん。
Yeah,
言ったよ。
he did.
明日の夜だけ頼むってね。
Tomorrow night.
ケイちゃんの言い方があまりにもよく似てたんで、
Just the way he did.
ちょっと思い出して取り乱しちゃった。
I didn't expect this. Satoshi had given her the exact same phone call 1 year ago today. After that, Neon had said more. That he was lying. That he told her it would only be for the night at the festival.
そうだったな。サトシはその数日後に消えた。
Disappeared? Might have been a rather vague way to put it. Whether he ran away or not, Satoshi left abandoning Satoko.
そう。転校でもなく、家出でもなく、消えたの。
And then an idea far more indecent than even fog crossed my mind. Satoshi made exactly the same phone call as me last year. Why would Satoshi make the exact same call? If, in the truest sense, he really made the exact same phone call as I am right now, then the incident where the aunt was beaten to death, could it
サトシ
was Satoshi
何が？
last year. Sadako had been constantly abused by her uncle's wife, their aunt too. Her aunt abused her the most, and on the night, in the name of Aishiro-sama's curse, she was taken from this world. If I thought about that, everything everything made perfect sense, didn't it?
去年サトコのおばが殴り殺されたじゃないか。あれサトシってことは考えられないか。
No, but that would mean... But then Satoshi, he was a coward who abandoned Sadako and ran away, wasn't he? How could Satoshi resolve himself to kill a person to save Sadako? It was unthinkable.
私も実はそれを疑ったことがある。サトシには悪いけど。
A few days later, he disappeared. On Sadako's birthday. When I first heard it, I flew into a rage. What a cruel day to have run away on. But now I thought about it like this. The story changed completely. Satoshi had probably been even less calm than I was now. He was her big brother, related by blood, watching his little sister be abused day in and day out. Maybe that's why he couldn't keep calm. And that's why the corpse of their aunt, beaten to death, was so easily discovered. Satoshi locked himself in anger and hadn't hidden the corpse. Oh, my finger hit the microphone, sorry. He permitted a beginning to occur. If the police conducted a full-blown investigation, it was easy to imagine they wouldn't take long to pin down Satoshi as the culprit. Satoshi, he wished for a return to peaceful days with Satoko. He thought he achieved it for a time. He had been steadily driven into a corner, and then he wanted to at least hold out until Satoko's birthday, but finally they nailed him. At the time, Satoshi had been carrying savings he amassed to buy Satoko a giant stuffed animal for a birthday present. He could buy the stuffed animal as her gift and then get caught, or he could use the money and disappear. That was a choice he had been forced to make. And he decided not to make Satoko the sister of a murderer. If that was the case, it must have been an unspeakably bitter decision. All that money he saved waiting to see Satoko happy, he had used it to make her sad. And he used the savings and disappeared to Tokyo if the rumors were true.
サトシはそれで消えたのか。
それはわからない。大石なんかはそう思ってるみたいだけどね。
Oshi had been slowly driven to a corner by the repulsive man's pig-headed pursuit.
確かに状況証拠は揃ってるけど、多分ケイちゃんの推理は外れだと思う。
How so?
県内のどっかで捕まったろくでなしが犯行を自供したっていうし。
That was right. The deviant had confessed, and the incident was solved.
そいつは本当にただの異常者で、ひなみ沢とは何の縁もない男だったって。もちろんサトシとも何の関係もない。だからそんな奴がサトシの身代わりになって嘘をついてくれたなんて到底思えないし。
You couldn't just arbitrarily decide that. You never knew where or how humans are tied together. If that guy took the blame, then it was the perfect crime. Of course, it was really a perfect crime. There could have been no reason for Satoshi to vanish.
それにサトシには逃亡資金なんてなかったと思う。サトシが預金を下ろした日、これは誰に言っても信じてくれないんだけど、サトコのために買うと言ってたぬいぐるみが売れてショーケースからなくなってたの。きっとサトシが買ったに違いない。
ちょっと待てよ。逃走資金に使わないでぬいぐるみを買うために使ったならサトコのところへ帰るはずだろ。ぬいぐるみを買ってそれを届けもせずに蒸発するなんて考えられない。
Oh God. Sorry about that. The phone call just popped up. It scared me. So I turned the phone down. Normally Callie's voice doesn't scare me like that, but the song does. Alright, let's try to hurry up. I want to finish this segment, then we can call it a night.
だからわからなくなっちゃうんだよ。
Okay.
まとまったお金があるならともかく、貯金を全部使っちゃったなら、
You'd be totally
サトシ
broke.
は無一文。お金もなく逃亡生活ができるほど世の中は甘くないよ。
You cannot? You cannot? I didn't get it. After all that, I was understanding Satoshi less and less. The two of us fell silent. I couldn't remember how we got into this topic.
ごめん、どこで話が脱線しちゃったんだか。
Majorly.
サトコの件ね、安心していいよ。実はもうちゃんと誘ってあるんだよ。
え、本当かよ。
Yeah.
祭りの準備でみんなで神社に行った時さ、サトコを祭りに呼ぼうって話になったんだよ。それで集会所の電話でそのまま電話して誘ったんだ。おじのやつよそよそしくて勝手にしろみたいな感じだったけど、とりあえず OK はしてくれた。明日みんなで待ち合わせしていくことになってるんだよ。安心した？
Yeah.
サトシ。
Yeah, that's definitely Shion. Shion.
バカ、俺はサトシじゃないって。
I was a little relieved. I hadn't needed to make the phone call. Sako had already been invited to the festival. And not in the way that smelled of blood, invited to leave her uncle alone to create time for me to kill him. They purely wanted Satoko to enjoy herself, so they invited her. In the end, it was the same. But I was happy for the slight difference.
すまないな。俺が電話をするまでもなかった。昨日にしろ今日にしろ変な話ばかりしてすまないな。忘れてくれ。
Just forget about it.
こっちこそ本当に申し訳ない。誰にもなく取り乱しちゃって。
That's fine. These are weird circumstances.
本当にごめん。
We apologize to each other. for a little bit.
じゃあ俺はこれで失礼するな。おやすみ。
Good night.
何の用事？
As if interrupting our parting words, Mion struck straight where it hurt.
それもまたサトシと同じように言えない？
バカ。
Stupid.
だから俺はサトシじゃないって言ってるだろ。
Satoshi.
うん。
Yeah,
そんなのは
I know that.
分かってるよ。
I deflected her with a response that wasn't really an answer. Mion didn't hound me anymore after that.
じゃあ今度こそおやすみな。
Good night.
どうしてケイちゃんがサトシ君と全く同じ電話をしてきたのかわからないけれど。
But
なんでもない。ごめんね。おやすみ。
there's me.
切るぞ。
Click. Click. Satoshi-kun. Satoshi Hojo. Just who are you? I scorn you as a coward who ran away, abandoning his sister. I always thought you didn't have the right to call yourself her Nini. But now I didn't know what to think. Oi Shiro-sama's curse on the 4th year. Their aunt's death and Satoshi's disappearance. And now, me, trying to carry out Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th. Oddly enough, what I was going to do overlapped perfectly with Satoshi the day before the curse. No, that wasn't at all. If we start back from Satoko being abused, then I've been overlapping with Satoshi for days already. When I talked to Mion before, she asked me if I was Satoshi. If that was the first impression of a third party like Mion got, then it was probably true. Then as Satoshi had accomplished, I was succeed in the murder. But that was the extent in which we overlapped. I was far calmer than Satoshi, far more calculating. I would actually grow calmer and more enthusiastic I became. That's why I wouldn't follow in Satoshi's footsteps. I would snip him clearly out of the world and get our peaceful life back. Maybe Satoshi had been with me ever since I chose to use Satoshi's bat as my weapon. No, maybe even longer than that. When I decided I'd be her Nini, maybe Satoshi had been resting within me then too. Satoshi, were you really a coward? Or are you a true Nini, even now, the kind worthy of Satoko's love? I never met him, never spoken to him, didn't even know his face, and yet I felt so connected to him. I never felt that way before. Are we good? Are we good? Yes, alright. Are we getting tips, or is that the end? Oh, we got one tip. Alright, let's finish this off. Possessed is our new badge. Oh, new tips. New tips. July 1982. Okamiya Police Station, 1st Investigation Division. Chief Takasuki. Prefecture Police Headquarters for the Eradication of Drug-Related Crime. Shishibone Branch Head. Regarding incident, designated as undercover investigation. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony records of an incident under this police headquarters jurisdiction has been found. That is thought to be related to the undiscovered investigation of the incident in question. Okamiya Police Station, Hinamizawa Village housewife slaughter incident. During the investigation of a suspect who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs, there was a testimony alluding to the crime in question, and it became clear that it contained information that only the perpetrator could have known. Therefore, we are prepared to share this record of testimony with you. Duplicate attached. In this testimonial, it is to be believed that there is an extremely high chance that suspect blank was the perpetrator in the incident in question. In addition, on receiving this testimony, the head of investigator of the case inquired to an incident with the Okimiya police station. But the responsible party at Okimiya police station misunderstood, and in compliance with the designation as an undercover investigator, as an undercover investigation by executive order from the prefectural police headquarters on July 1st, 1982, Journal Administration B1-12. They did not explain the incident assistance to the head investigator as they should have. Because of this, the head investigator did not realize the importance of the testimony as it related to the case in question. As a result, was neglected when combining the scene. We apologize for having officially ignored it until now. In addition, there was a postscript saying that suspect blank died while in confinement yesterday. So the murderer of the aunt died while he was still in custody. End of chapter 9. Okay. And let's hit continue for now. Sunday. It's Sunday right now, but we can't keep going on. We can't keep going on. We gotta hit quit. We gotta quit. Ah! What the heck? What is this? What is this behind the scenes nonsense? Get off! Get off! This was a... I was gonna say fun stream, but given the subject matter at hand, I question to say that. But thank you all for joining me on this wonderful night. I had such a blast reading this with y'all. And we're gonna revisit Higurashi a couple times this week. Let me double check. What's our schedule like? Where are you? Yep, we're going back on Thursday and back on Saturday. We get a bunch of Higurashi goodness. And hopefully finish up this episode. Probably by the end of this week, or probably next week. Then hopefully we can try to cram in the Atonement arc, episode 4, before October, before the end of the month, which I really hope we can do, but I'm not sure if we can pull it off. We're gonna try though. Okay, I do need to go to bed. Thank you all for showing up, even for a little bit. You know, I highly appreciate it. And tomorrow we are doing from schedule. Yes, we are going to Hades. It's been a while since we played Hades. Hopefully we can get some of that done. Okay. Alright, I do need to go real quick, so thank you all. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good night or evening, wherever you're in the world, and we will meet each other soon. Catch you later, and bye-bye.